Hopefully everybody has strapped themselves in, because this final game is going to be one wild ride, full of emotion, full of passion, and full of a chance to get that global championship spot and call yourself the best in all of the EU region. And we've called it yet again. No contestation coming out for Queasy and Thomas. Cringe and Knobs, much respect to them.
We have a match, Jacob. We have a match, as Merstash and Malabuka have not been contested either throughout this whole day 1 and day 2 of grand finals. They have duos in the area, but none of them fighting their side of the drop. I'm looking to see if there's any changes in the last match, but it looks like it's going to be a similar situation. So it's going to be all about setting themselves up for that late game, securing as much loot, as much damage as possible, as now that Queasy and Thomas are not contested entirely, they will have to focus a bit more on getting those tags. Misha, Tini are going to be the duo that's close by.
Gotta be careful though, because Misha and Tini are known to pull out some sneaky tricks and really camp on the way to other players' loot paths, but uncontested, Queasy, Thomas, they're going to spend a ton of time in and around the buildings of Lavish Lair. So hopefully they just don't get too greedy for more loot than they can handle. Otherwise, that's when things will start to go sideways, and Queasy is moving over in that direction. He has to be careful. Luckily for him, he does hear some shots pop off. Chance to get some damage onto Teeny, but he has to be careful. There's so many dangerous players waiting in the wings all around this position, and with little builds left, it's a great decision for Queasy to disengage, because that would have been so bad for him to get caught out in the open.
Crash pads used, but it was worth it as they're back above. Misha, though, Teeny, now left as a solo. It's Chapix, Tino, who are going to be capitalizing on this situation. But this is also huge for Queasy and Thomas HD, as all they really need to do here are take those pop shots. You can tell they have to kind of make a decision here, as in theory they do have the advantage against these opponents. They just got out of an engagement. They most likely don't have a lot of shield, most likely do not have a lot of HP, but at the same time, they don't want to do anything too risky. They can't get eliminated so early on.
Yeah, that'll basically be the tournament done and over with. And you can see Queasy just watching them like a hawk. Vital information for him and Thomas about when they can actually go for that medallion and the NPC to try to get that mythic loot. Merstash is going to find a huge treasure trove underneath after opening the vault. That double gold loot coming out of the vault. They get the gold hammer pump, a gold striker. They already have the mythic. If this is a game for Malabuka and Thomas off spawn, this is going to be the one where they could take it all.
You gotta think what's on their mind right now, Jacob. Last match of the day, pressure on their shoulders. It all comes down to this from the qualifiers, semifinals, first day of grand finals, now the last match of the second day. The conclusion of Major 1. It all really comes down to this. We can even take a look of what Queasy's doing here, as he was able to pick up an Elim, and that's already 6 points, Jacob.
Yep. That gap is beginning to open up just a little bit. 2-point differential is now turned into 8-point lead for Queasy and Thomas. But another team that have earned the right to be in contention, a big win, uncontested Forecast Tower, moved themselves into 3rd place with 530 points. It might seem out of reach of that top 2, about 70-80 points of separation, but a first place is worth 100 points and 6 points per elimination. So if we have the situation, Queasy, Thomas, Malabuka, Merstash go down early, it would be wide open for them to take it all.
Look, it's more than doable. Even Fadil and Reason at 500 points, basically. All it takes is one little hiccup from either duo in 1st and 2nd place here, and it will open up that shot for the others down below. Bevy's Pablo by Hazy Hillside. No duos in sight, as all our players here continue to prep themselves for the late game.
Oof. Kieran Kudo probably saw this, and now that they're in contention, they said, nah. We'll give it up this game. You gave it to us last game. Pink and Vico land a monster of a shot on the Ennis. Flixie's already weak. They have a huge advantage in this fight. Just not sure they got the memo just yet. Still another team looting up the scraps that are left over towards Reckless Railways. And then obviously, the tendency for Veno and Tayson to move over from Grand Glacier is going to be real in this position. But Yanis and Flixie have had enough. They're going to disengage on out, move back on over to Reckless Railways where they can heal up and regather some of that loot.
Taking Vico now in control of the forecast tower. All the third parties they've had to go through, from Veno, Tayson, Janus, Flixie. As we look at our 4th place team, Reason and Vidil. 100 points, Jacob, you said it. That's what the Victory Royale can get you today, with 6 points per elim. We've seen it happen before, these massive matches. If they want first place, that's all they need.
See, already they have the forecast tower in mind. There is one team positioned nearby, that's Hen and Vasque. They have to be careful for it. They've been ready to fight for it more times than not throughout the weekend. It's a huge tool to their game plan, being able to make it far in some of these games. Boss has already spawned as well. Hen and Vasque have control in terms of those pieces, but Vidil and Reason move in with ease to take down the boss, and now they'll be the ones with that reboot card to secure the first forecast tower.
Huge benefit to this match. As they're able to get the forecast, they will be able to see those zones up ahead. And it's going to be crucial for their positioning as we look back at Sandguild Marius, who did take one of the matches today. They're looking to kind of position themselves in a bit more of an elevated location. And for our previous match winners, Kiro and Kiduo, they've put themselves into a battle.
This is not the time. You just had a phenomenal game going down here. Kind of end a dream run, but it's Veno and Tayson. They have different plans in their mind if they want to move up the leaderboard. At 350 points, they got to give themselves a shot. And that's going to come with maybe a 15, 20 elimination victory royale. At least there's a condition for them to try to win. Slightly out of reach and very, very risky. But Tayson and Veno, if they want to go ahead and advance to the global championship here this weekend, it's really the only way to do it.
Tayson Veno currently in 16th place. Kiro Kiduo in 3rd. One of the duos here trying to hold on to their position. As you said it yourself, Jacob, top 2 do go to the global championships. So Kiduo and Kiro are just one position away from making it. But if Veno is able to get this knock, it could be the end for them. He hits the first shot. It's not going to be a crack. As he gets dropped down, 8 HP is what he's left with. The whole build fight is chopped down. And the pressure is on.
Disaster strikes. The interesting thing is they don't necessarily know how weak Veno actually is. Tayson's trying to move in on another angle, alleviate the pressure. But our team, one of our top teams that's in contention, Aqua Noah on the other side, going against Malabuka and Mustache, now cut in a hard position, slowly but surely trying to back up. Third parties coming in, spraying in their direction, coming from fencing fields. This is going to be tough for them to survive, especially against Aqua and Noah. But I think they've had enough. They realize who they're going up against, and they quickly disengage on out. A breath of fresh air has been had for Malabuka and Mustache.
Luckily enough, they did have the heals to recuperate the damage that was dealt. Now both looking healthy again. Still 3 shots in the chamber. Mustache with even more. They've done a good bit of damage, but they cannot get pushed here. They need to just focus on staying up.
Very, very scary for them momentarily. But luckily they have the luxury to kind of rotate back to where they were before, find any heals that were left behind, kind of get that HP back up. Thomas Queasy just checking some bushes, better safe than sorry. Even going for some cheeky shots into the distance. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And with the amount of sniper ammo that Thomas has, you know, you can kind of go for these Hail Marys.
I mean, we saw what Thomas did in a bush at the start of this tournament. But now if you could just do the same with the sniper rifle. He's known for hitting his shots. And if there's ever been a match where it's more important, the time is now. North side of the zone by Reckless. Continuing to just look around. Once again, they were not contested, so they don't have that damage early on like they have had in the previous match. So it is a bit of a change up in their original game plan. Now at the combat cache section of the match, forecast towers have already been secured. Now it's for that extra loot and a bit of metal for Kiro and Kiduo. Making it out of the engagement against Tayson and Benno. Have again a shot at the trophy or even the global championship.
And good job for them to be able to not only like quickly react, but manage to be one of the first teams on over to their combat cache. A huge helpful amount of loot. You saw the shields gonna getting regenerated. And they have some for later on in this game, especially with the way Storm Surge has been dealing damage to some of these teams. Pablo and Bevies, almost uncontested over here towards Hazy Heel side. You said it yourself, nobody in sight early on in the game. That's just because they found that first elimination and pushed that second player so far out of sight. It wasn't even on the mini-map. And now they hear another team. They don't necessarily know it's Venno and Tayson. Big heavy hitters that they could potentially go up against.
Benno and Tayson have been looking extra hungry in this last match. Time in and time again, trying to push, trying to find that either sniper shot or big pump shot to damage their opponents and give them that option to keep pushing. With 40 duos up, 80 players, we're getting closer and closer to the midsection of the game here. As duos start rotating in, deciding, do we want to be more on that congested side? Do we want to go center? Do we want to stay up north?
Decisions. I think for everybody here in the lobby, they're beginning to feel the pressure of what this final game can do. And that's the interesting thing, is even if you're not at the top of the leaderboard in contention to win, there's so much money, thousands upon thousands of dollars up for grabs for each and every placing as you move up the leaderboard. So there's still so much to fight for, even if you're out of reach of that first place spot.
Merstash being quick to react as he was split up from Malabuka. Taking that sniper shot, unable to connect. Now this duo has history, Jacob. Entered the scene competing together in FNCS before splitting at the beginning of Chapter 4. Merstash picking up a title with Tayson. Malabuka yet to get his first. Will this be the time now? They've joined forces once again. Can they secure Malabuka's first FNCS finals? Can Merstash get his second? It's a duo I love to see. As now they go closer and closer to the Rift Island, diving right onto Seti. This match is everything.
Yeah, Cammy was already weak as well. That's why they took the Rift. Didn't want to really grab him time to heal. Now they're hot on the heels. The Seti disengaged. Now it's Cammy's turn to try to drop down, which gives up all of Rift Island to Malabuka or Merstash if they so want it, but they want the elimination. Malabuka was able to find it onto Cammy as he fell down off of Loot Island. And now they have Seti in their line of sights, narrowly able to enter that rift to be able to escape, to live to tell the tale, and potentially get Cammy back in.
This is big. This is very big for Merstash and Malabuka. That elimination, not only elimination, the knockdown and the elimination is going to be a huge benefit to the damage that they needed. Queasy as well with that elim they secured early on. Issue is, it wasn't even a knock. It was just one shot onto an opponent that was low. It gave them that 6 points, but it didn't give them as much damage as they would have liked. They have the loadout, they have the loot, but for Reason and Vadil, they also want more.
They're getting backed up into a tough spot. That's Swizzy and Putrick they see on the other side, trying to get aggressive while they can. They too are in a position with enough eliminations mixed in with our top two going down just a little bit early. They could pull out an underdog victory, especially with how well they've been playing. Swizzy Putrick, though, not really wanting to give up on this fight. Great defenses, drop Slayers, not wanting to give the video the shot that he's looking for.
Continuing to find a replace, continuing to find an angle. Putrick not letting it happen as the pickaxes come through. The zone will be closing here in just 7 seconds, and they'll be able to know where they have to rotate to. Reason you can see is staying above to keep a good line of sight on the players in the surrounding area. Zone has pulled close to them. They don't have to rotate a long ways to still be in the edge, as now they're not really forced to do anything too urgently.
No, they can literally just sit up there, gather information. They know teams below them, but now they can start to scout of which teams are positioned all around them on this island. So that way when they finally do make a rotation, maybe even in the next zone after that, it gets a pull, not in their favor. They know exactly where they want to rotate to. 451 points as we look forward. Another duo, Gearys and Hari, positioned just away from everybody else outside of Ruined Wields. In 51 points, like I said, even for those that may not think they have a chance at that first place, they can line their pockets with thousands upon thousands, over $800,000 up for grabs today.
And once again, just a 2-point difference. The match started with a 2-point difference, and after a couple of eliminations, we're back at it once again. Third place, 530 points. Might seem far, but anything's possible with 100 points for that victory royale and 6 points per elimination. It really all depends on what happens to these top teams. Queasy and Thomas, we can actually see where they're at on the threshold now. They got that small tag for the elimination. It's put them 130 above, but they're gonna need more.
Yeah, it's just kind of the double-edged sword of getting that elimination early. You're able to get the points, but especially since Teeny was kind of chased around before he finally went down, there's really not enough damage when it comes to Surge, so there's no real feeling of comfortability. But on the other side, Malibuca Mustache, a couple of well-placed sniper shots, beaming into players' boxes, even getting into a close engagement versus another team. They're well above the damage threshold on top of Loot Island with very few things to worry about, at least until the next zone pulls on over.
I mean, that knock-on elimination was crucial for the position that they're in now. As Thomas HD and Queasy, the numbers getting lower and lower, but the stress levels are rising. Storm Surge is active. At any second now, they could go from 37 above to below as they need to find damage.
Yeah, it's just a tough situation, and the switch up, the big difference of being contested versus being uncontested. They're not able to get the early damage, whether they win, lose, or draw the fight against Noms and Cringe, because they're no longer there at Lavish Lair. And with not too many teams rotating in that direction, it's going to be hard for them to try to figure out where. They're kind of forced into certain positions. Even with a sniper, Thomas is not able to find anything to work with. Luckily for him, Queasy landing a couple of shots, 18 above. But this is not a feeling of comfortability for this duo that has their eyes set on that first place.
A miracle as now 223 above as players continue to get eliminated. Open up a bit of space, a little breath of air for the duo as they can focus now on their rotate. You can even see all the players by the Rift Island that are going to be making use of those rifts, of those launch pads close by. It should even open up that option to take shots on them as they rotate in. But the first thing they have to focus on is making it to zone, as Thomas has lost a bit of shield. Not cracked yet, though.
Yeah, forced to stagger in that position. Those are the dangers of rotating on foot. Instead of taking those rifts, you see everybody that was positioned towards Loot Island making their way on over. Queasy and Thomas were looking like one of the first teams to try to make it to zone. Now they're going to be one of the last, and they fall below the damage threshold, so they have no other choice but to look back of zone where they see a fight going on. Now damage being dished out. They fall even further below. This is a nightmare of a situation for Queasy and Thomas to be in.
Forced to pop the floppers. Doesn't look like they have a lot of shields. Only thing helping them is that medallion. As now Grapple Blade's forced to get into zone. It's gonna be Phaser and King holding them, but the snipe, it's hit by Thomas HD. Is it gonna be enough to continue the pressure though?
He hits the knock, but this is his chance. He's staggered, focused. That's Loki on the other side along with his duo. Queasy's trying to move in on the other side, but nothing is given. Everything is earned in a situation like this. And I do believe King was able to get the revive back on up to Phaser. And Thomas Queasy still flirting with disaster when it comes to that Storm Surge.
The snipe to put them back into the match. Now 60 above. That is what put them in the position they are in. Big pots now being put to good use. Floppers still available, as they have a bit more time to get the rest of the damage they need. And it looks like they're going to do it aggressively.
This is their chance right now. It's almost an all or nothing situation, but Queasy's dropped. Queasy's dropped. Phaser's able to get the knock. He's trying to save the day. Thomas with the backfire gets a knock back onto Phaser. This is everything for Queasy and Thomas. King is getting backed up little by little. Medallion not able to help out Thomas because it's in the inventory of Queasy. Trade for revive, but Kiro and Kaduo, they caused destruction. That was a huge blessing in disguise for Thomas and Queasy because now they're free to get this revive back on up.
The third place duo finishing off Phaser and King, as now Thomas and HD and Queasy are going to be able to heal up, but they're still 42 above. They need more damage. One more snipe shot is all Thomas needs to hit here. You can see the difference in the leaderboard is nothing between first and second. How are they still up, Jacob?
8 points. 8 points is the difference. I'm not sure how they're doing this, Takada, but they are making it work. Down on Surge against adversity. Talk about making history. Now we're making it entertaining. But Kiro and Kaduo are looking to play busters to everything that's going on. No placement points just yet. One more team still needs to go down. Aqua and Tayson, they're both going to be knocked for their respective teams as well.
Pressure is still on. Malibuca and Merstash looking healthier than ever, while Thomas HD and Queasy fight for their lives. 5 above. They have a bit more heals to hold off, but still, Storm Surge has been attacking him throughout a majority of this match. The curse in disguise of not being contested. Just 41 above, but as the players begin to rotate, 8th zone has appeared. This is going to open up options to get that damage.
Yeah, the biggest thing that's keeping them alive is the constant hot potato with that medallion. No real shields to their name. You mentioned the floppers. 41 zone beginning to move in. This is where it's going to get tough for Queasy and Thomas. And as soon as the edit's open, Thomas takes a ton of damage. Shields getting dropped. Medallion is in the inventory of Queasy, so he's not going to have time to get the shields on back. And now he falls below the damage threshold. Adversity at its finest as Queasy remains the target of multiple players in the lobby.
Forced to pop a flopper up to 74. Medallion gets dropped. Thomas now will be able to recuperate shield once he picks this up. But it's Pablo. It's Bevies knocking on their door. Are they going to be able to get out? Grapple Blade comes through. Rotate continues.
55 below. It's not going to be an easy rotation by any means. And the point gap has lessened from 8 back down to 2. Means Malibuca, Merstash, they found elimination along the way. Queasy is down. Queasy is down. It's all up to Thomas. 8 builds to his name. He's trying to get this elimination on the bull backside of zone, and he finds that elimination, but not many builds. But he gets bandages. Another pressure towards the front side. It's looking disastrous for Thomas as everybody begins to focus back. Thomas goes down. Malibuca and Merstash are still alive, and that is 2 or 3 more points due to placement. They might have just overtaken it right there.
All they need to do is stay up. The closest duo now, Kiro Kaduo, were in 3rd place, creeping on behind Merstash and Malibuca. They need to find them in this late game. They need to eliminate them.
Just about 1 more placement, 1 more elimination will be official for Malibuca and Merstash to take this game. Kiro and Kaduo still waiting in the wings, 32 below. They still have a chance right now. They're still over 60, 70 points on the board in terms of placement if Malibuca and Merstash can go down.
Malibuca's cracked. The fresh is on. He gets knocked. It's all up to Merstash. This could be it. The comeback from Kiro and Kaduo. If Merstash goes down, he cannot let that happen.
I'm not even sure if a placement came in by the time Queasy Thomas went down. Not just yet. Merstash still needs to be able to clutch up. He's been in this situation before 1 year ago, and he was on the victory end along with Tayson of a close race. But now it's going to be put to the test yet again. He's under pressure, getting shot from different angles, 83 HP. He's well above the damage threshold, and he still finds a way to stay alive. Even dodging zone along the way, but he goes down. Merstash goes down, but he picked up more points in terms of placement.
It is all up to Kiro and Kaduo now. They need to secure the victory royale. They need to get eliminations, but with no builds to their name, they have to act fast.
There's a ton of placement points on the board, but they're going to need eliminations mixed in with that if they want to take it overall. Kiro and Kaduo, I don't even know if they know the situation that they're in right now.
They're still trying. Medkit.
Oh no.
Duo partners went down. It's all up to Kiro. He has no materials. He's on the edge of zone. No more medkits now, as he might be able to pick up a bit of loot. It's even more medkits. The blessing as he grapples on in.
He didn't grab the medkits though. He panicked. He went to the front of zone. Doesn't grab materials either. Kiro has to dig deep. He got 6 more teams, 7 more teams down worth of placement points. 581. He needs to be able to push himself over the edge, but there are so many teams in his path ready to stop him.
Now the rotate continues. Shot connects. The Vico eliminated. That's one on the board. Materials recuperated. Now ahead of zone.
This is legendary right now. He's earned this spot. First elimination has been found, but once again, running out of builds, running out of time. You see him looking all around, trying to look to the backside of the zone. Can he find anybody sneaking around? There are so many duos on top of that layer that he's at. Sado and Alex, they cut him off in front. Kiro finally goes down. He didn't get enough points.
Malibuca and Merstash, will they be able to hold on to the throne as Marius is finishing off this last match? Medkit up 3 elims on the board.
Sangul got his first victory royale this weekend in FNCS Finals lobby, looking to make it 2, looking to get more points and line their pockets with money, but Marius forced to drop down low. Shots coming from above. It's almost looking like a solo FNCS, but one duo, Noms and Cringe on the high ground.
And they're holding strong. Just 14 HP for Marius. He's forced back into zone, but it's duos that are up against him. He needs a miracle for the 1 versus 2. Takes the first shot, hits a wall, blocked off, as now Marius is the only solo left.
He's just hiding, the only nook, cranny he can take. But he gets taken out. And Alexado on the low ground. Noms and Cringe switching up their drop spot in the last 2 games. They've got 6 eliminations up until this point. What a way to end the game if they can somehow drop down to their opponent and finish it off. But multiple win conditions going around both of these teams. 3 medkits each. Sado getting tossed around, trying to play Disruptor, but he's going to get dropped down. Noms and Cringe, they're the duo on the high ground, but Analex forced to start to heal off early.
Both teams had 3 medkits. Andalex, though, the pressure's on him. Noms goes down with the knock. The heal-off continues now. Who is going to be able to outlive?
Andalex does have a little bit of lead in terms of those medkits, but we've seen multiple heals getting scattered around on some fallen foes. Andalex starting the last of his opportunity. Crimge, he finds another one. Almost fumbles the bag there, but the medkit is going to be popped. Andalex now has to turn the tides. He has to go on the hunt, sees an opponent, staring him in the eyes, trying to go for the piece control. Cancels the medkit. Andalex clutches up by taking down Cringe.
He does it. The medkit was found by Cringe, but it was not enough to hold on. Andalex securing that final shot for the final victory royale of the day.
And that race was so close to Kata. It was so close to the very end. Queasy, Thomas HD, Malibuca, Merstash, history repeating itself going into the final game with just 2 points, but we're all left waiting. Who won? That's the biggest question. Of course, Andalex was able to clutch up in this game. He's probably lined himself with more money in his pockets, but who went to the global championship?
That's the big question. 2 teams from today are booking their tickets to the global championship, but only 1 team is securing that FNCS title. Andalex and Sado secured the victory.